Welcome to the Wrestling Universe channel. My name is Cosk. I am joined by my good friend Reece.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about the champions of the pandemic. Unfortunately, we will be having to talk about the pandemic, but it's an interesting time to look back on, you know? Like, it's like this bizarro land of wrestling, and I think this will be interesting. I'll have to credit Reece for making this tier list, and let's get right into it with The Miz. So, where would you rank The Miz, Reece?
Yeah, so the Miz, he didn't have a long reign. It lasted like a week. Didn't really, help him much. Didn't really do anything for the title. So I'll probably have to put it in terrible, to be honest.
I'm gonna have to agree. I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of The Miz. I think his Miz TV segments are terrible most of the time. I used to be a fan of him, and I think I think he's starting to come back up there. His in-ring work is like drastically improving.
Yeah,
He's in a good position right now, but like during this like peak Vince McMahon 2020 to 2021 era, I was not a fan at all. I think this reign was genuinely awful. It
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
awful because it was like nothing, but like him beating Drew McIntyre was awful. I think he was not the man to beat Drew. I think he shouldn't have beaten Drew. I think Drew should have went on to Mania, and
yeah,
I'm gonna have to agree and put him at terrible.
yeah, absolutely.
Next up, we have the RKO Master himself, Randall Keith Orton. Where would you put Randy?
For me, uh, I would put it in good because like he didn't, have like a long reign, but with his short reign, it was good. He had good top matches with Drew and all the other ones, and I think that his reign really showed that he still has in him to be a world champion again.
I did like the factor where it was like everybody was chasing him. I liked Bray was chasing him, Miz and Morrison, I believe, were chasing him. Drew McIntyre was chasing him. So it was like really Randy versus the world, and I thought that was a very interesting story. His
Yeah,
reign at the same time just felt to me like a stopgap, like a piss break basically between Drew McIntyre
yeah.
reigns. So it was
Oh yeah,
like
yeah,
a Drew McIntyre reign, Randy's little reign, a Drew McIntyre reign. So like it wasn't really anything of note. I would
yeah,
personally put it to mid, but if you can't agree on mid, I can go with good.
yeah, yeah. We can put a mid. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Now, here's the one I'm excited for: Big Bobby Lashley. Where would you put Bobby?
See, I'm not really a fan of him winning world titles anymore. He's like nearly what, like nearly 50.
A
Like
46 right now, I
yeah,
believe.
yeah, around
That's
that.
just a guess. That's just a guess.
I didn't really enjoy his reigns during the pandemic era. I think he should not have got it from Drew. I think Drew should have, retained the title at Mania, and I don't think Bobby should have won it in any way. So I think I'll put it in. But then he didn't have a bad reign. So it was decent. So I'll probably put it in mid.
Um, I'm gonna have to disagree, but not by much. I
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Bobby. I think his presentation during his reign was awesome. I do agree that you should be pushing younger talent, but like I have bias here. I think Bobby Lashley is incredible. I think he's a freak of a man. Like
yeah,
the way he is at his age is incredible. He's like the
yeah,
strongest grandfather in
yeah,
the world.
yeah,
I think his reign was good, and the reason I'm putting it as good and not amazing is because it was during peak Vince McMahon era, so the booking was not the greatest. Like there's a lot
yeah.
of like the one feud I remember being good was like the short Kofi feud, but a lot of his programs weren't very good. Not due to him, it was due to the booking at the time. Like Raw was like at an all-time low at that point. So I think I'm gonna have to put it at good. Would you agree, or would do you think we should put it at mid?
Uh, yeah, yeah. I would agree. Yeah, yeah. I would agree. Yeah, good. Yeah.
Here comes Drew McIntyre. Where would you put Drew as a
See,
fellow man from the
his
UK?
yeah. See, his with his reign, he didn't, have like the crowd reaction with him. He had no fans there, so like we couldn't really see the full potential with fans there. It was just, no fans, just him, and like all the cameras and that stuff. So like, but with his reign, I think it was it was decent, but like it wasn't the best because I think the fans were like I think what it needed was the fans to be involved with the title reign because else it shouldn't be that good. So for me, I'll probably just stick it in good.
Uh, Drew, other than the obvious, which we will get to at the end, he's the main event. I think Drew had
Yeah,
the best reign out of everyone.
yeah,
I really liked the Seth Rollins program at the start of his reign. I think him and Lashley went on way too long, but like
yeah,
there was a
yeah, yeah,
genuine excitement when during their initial clashes because they were starting to present Bobby Lashley as like a serious figure. So it's like this immovable object versus this unstoppable force.
yeah,
I'm gonna have to agree with you though and put him at good. The fans not being there really held him back, and that's like a common theme with this list. But with Drew
yeah,
McIntyre, it was like especially there because he never got his moment in front of fans. And looking back in hindsight, especially with the situation Drew's in now, it feels like he might never get his moment in the WWE with those fans, and that's like a serious, serious detriment to his reign. So I think I'm gonna have to agree with you. It's better
yeah,
than Randy's, it's better than the Miz's, and it's a pretty good
yeah,
reign. But I don't think it goes to amazing or god tier.
yeah, absolutely.
But I do think it goes over Bobby, so I'm gonna put him above Bobby.
Yeah, yeah,
Next up, we have the Fiend Bray Wyatt. I mean, this run he held it for 5 minutes, I think.
yeah. Nah, like I think it's like what a minute until Roman came in and speared him. I think
Okay, so I
so.
think
Like,
we both agree this goes god tier.
oh yeah, yeah,
The best
absolutely.
minute in WWE history. No, no. I
Yeah,
mean,
terrible.
I'm gonna put it at mid, but over here because terrible to me implies something that's actively damaging. The Fiend's reign
Oh
was
yeah, yeah.
not actively damaging, but like
Okay, yeah,
it wasn't good. It was just like it was there, you know. Like it's something
yeah,
that
yeah,
you blink and you miss it.
yeah, yeah.
Next up, speaking of actively damaging, we have Big Bill Goldberg.
I think just put him in terrible. Honestly, just put him in terrible.
Yeah, do we even have to explain
No.
the damage he did to Bray Wyatt? And I mean, I know that was before the pandemic, but it was still during his run. He had that really awkward Roman feud that never really went anywhere due to the pandemic. And
Yeah, yeah,
then Braun beat him in a really meh match.
yeah. It wasn't really that good to be honest.
Next up, we have Braun Strowman. Where would you put
Speaking of,
Braun?
um, so I think obviously Braun won it from Goldberg at Mania. Then I think he held it all the way until what was it, SummerSlam. Then obviously Bray won it.
Do you
So
remember, do you remember the cinematic forest match or like swamp match?
that was just terrible.
It
No,
was.
no, that was terrible.
And he had the weird Miz feud too, and Miz and Morrison feud.
Oh, oh yeah, 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 yeah. No, see, it was a terrible reign, but not terrible like it was damaging, but like just, in general just terrible. So I think just put it in mid for me
Yeah,
personally.
I would agree. Do you think it's where do you think it ranks in mid? I think it's better than Bray's reign because that was literally a
Yeah,
minute,
yeah,
but
better than
not.
Braze. Yeah,
I think in the middle of mid.
yeah.
And next up, the tribal chief Roman Reigns. Do we even have to debate? God
No,
tier.
yeah, yeah,
But
absolutely.
what's the explanation for this? How would you put this at God tier? Why would you put this at God tier?
Well, he's hit 1,000 days as the champion. He's beat mostly all the the top talent in WWE. He's accomplished so much. Also with the Bloodline story as well that ties into the title. You know, and how he's had the Bloodline help interfering them with him help him retaining the title. I think all in all, it's just one of the best reigns we've ever had as a champion.
I would agree. I also think, speaking specifically about the pandemic, um, he was like the shining light in the pandemic at the time that like really
Yeah,
started the turnaround of SmackDown from like a quite poor show to a genuinely overall good show. His stuff with
yeah,
Jey Uso was incredible. His stuff with Daniel Bryan was incredible. His stuff with Edge was great. I mean, his match with Claudio was great. I believe that was still in the pandemic. Everything he did turned into gold. I remember the shock factor of him and Paul Heyman aligning, him turning heel, the return
oh yeah,
moment.
that was crazy. Yeah, yeah,
I think there's no debating this is a god tier reign. Like,
yeah,
it's not just one tier above everything else, it's two tiers above everything else.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this will do it. I think that this was an interesting video.
Yeah.
Um, subscribe for more. My name is Cosk. I've been joined by Reece, and thank you for watching.
Goodbye, guys.